Hello everybody, Michael here for Tactica Imperialis. Today I've got another 40k Tactics video talking about one of the expansions that released in December 2013. There were two expansions released, one was Stronghold Assault and the other is this one. This is called Escalation. And in Escalation you are allowed to take Lords of War as attachments to your primary detachment based on your codex. You're allowed one Lord of War per army, and an example would be this guy. So if I was an Orc player and I want to take a Lord of War, I could take an Orc Stomper. This is my Orc Stomper. If anybody's interested, I may do a showcase when I do my Orc Army another time. Actually, I won't do my Orc Army as a showcase. It looks awful and I've probably broken half of it. But that's not the point. Escalation allows you to field super heavies. It allows you to field gargantuan monstrous creatures in regular games of 40k. And that's the whole point of the system. And the Lords of War, you do pay for them. They are 500 to 1,000 points easily, depending on how many upgrades you've bestowed on them and what they are and what they start with and everything else. They can be very expensive. So, first piece of advice, I'm going to say it right now. Don't play Escalation in any game size less than 2,000 points. Please, because a 500 point Baneblade in a 1,500 point game is a bit broke. A 1,000 point Revenant Titan, I'm not sure how much it actually costs, but it'd be something up at 750 to 1,000 points in a 1,500 point game is A, broken, and B, pointless, if you ask me, because it's taking up a half to 2/3 of your army, and that's just too much. So at 2,000 points, you can just about justify it. At 3,000 points is probably when Escalation becomes as best for viability, because then you've got a good sized force to go with your super heavy. It fits better thematically, and it just plays better, if you ask me. Now, there are obviously a lot of tactics that changed with Escalation, because suddenly super heavies were around. Gargantuan monstrous creatures with more wounds than a Wraith Knight came out. And the Corn Mower, which has 9 hull points, that's the Lord of Skulls for anybody who doesn't speak in the same terms I speak. And that has 9 hull points. How do you kill something with 9 hull points? A Devastator squad, at best, is going to take 4. And that's if everything hits, everything pens, and no invulnerable saves are passed. That's huge. That takes a lot of damage to take one down. And so everybody had to adapt who wished to play Escalation anyway. Most still don't, or if they do, they play it in a less damaging way. For example, some forbid destroyer weapons. Strength D, these guys are incredibly powerful. They, at least in old rules, when they were just Apocalypse, they used to wound automatically, pen automatically, nor armor saves, maybe even do damage to invulnerable saves. And it was a case of play Strength D, blast template, take off unit. It was that easy. That was how Strength D weapons work. But they were playing Apocalypse where the scale was so huge you didn't miss that unit much. Well, unless it was a Death Star, then you really missed it. But they usually had re-rollable invulnerable saves or something. Anyway, so the game adapted, and people found new tactics for using and killing Lords of War. So, for example, I'm going to throw 3 hypothetical scenarios out, and then I'm going to explain how I would tackle them. Let's say I brought a Lord of War to a game, and it's in my army list, I paid for it, I'm playing 3,000 points, and I've thrown down my 600 point Orc Stomper. And my opponent comes down with a 3,000 point Space Marine list with no Lords of War in it. So suddenly it seems that I'm at a huge advantage. Yes, I've got 600 points less on my board, but my opponent has no super heavies. He's got no real way to kill the Lord of War unless he's tailored his list to do so. So, how do you approach this? Well, one, don't just gloat and say, oh, I've got a Lord of War, I'm going to kick your sorry butt. That is bad sportsmanship and the ultimate dick move. Don't do it, please, because there are these people who are really bad gamers, really bad winners, even worse, losers. So I'm just going to get this off my chest. Don't be one of those. Don't be one of those people who goes, aha, I've got a Lord of War, I'm going to kick your butt. Please, 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 I beg of you, don't do that. The next thing you need to do is you need to try and ask, are you okay with me using a Lord of War? I know you don't have one, so are you okay with me using it? If they say no, tweak your list. Take it out and write some other stuff in that would do a similar job. For example, if my Stomper got taken, I'd put in some heavy firepower, I'd put in some tough armour, and then I'd put in maybe some melee units. That's how I do it, to fit that in. Because my opponent having a good game is as important as my game is. That's another video entirely. I may do a video on just sportsmanship. Anyway, if they say, it's okay, I'll be alright, then just play a normal game. If you've got Strength D weapons, use them, of course, but don't behave like a tool. So, play it like a normal game. If your Lord of War goes down, take it in good humour. Just say it's a triumph against the odds. If your Lord of War does what it's supposed to do, and in my case fires its Super Gatler with 2d6 shots that doesn't run out of ammo until you roll a double, and just wipes the floor with half his army, well, I guess your opponent has to take that one on the chin, but don't gloat about it. Just play it like a regular game. Take it in the spirit of it. Make it, and almost think up the story in your head of a last stand of a large force of Marines as the Orcs get more powerful weaponry and somehow crippling the war boss's most vital assets or scouring them clean. Get into the game. This is, again, another video I should probably do. But get into it and don't treat it as a mowing exercise. Don't treat it as a chance to show off and be a douche. Please, God, you do not want to ruin the reputation of Escalation, because it's a really cool expansion if you do it right. Anyway, scenario 2. You're the guy who doesn't have a Lord of War. Your opponent has brought out his shiny new Baneblade that he's just rolled off the paint station, and he wants to test it out on your town. What do? Well, you can say, I don't like the fact that you're using a Lord of War, can we play regular 40k please? At which point you'll hopefully say, okay, I will change my list, or I'll take it out and you cut your list. Whatever. Take it in good faith and do it right. If you are okay with this, then play. And at this point, it gets hard, because you've got to deal with, in the Baneblade's case, a 6/9 hull point monster that packs powerful weapons, lots of secondary weapons, and Demolisher Cannon is its secondary. And we know how powerful that is. Strength 10 AV, 2 large blast. So how do you deal with it? You do one of two things. You target the Lord of War to the exclusion of all else. So in Tao's case, all your missile pods, all your fusion blasters, all your railguns are pointed at the tank until it goes boom. That's what you use it for. And it's there to die. You'll pick up victory points for it, I think, for killing a Lord of War. And it, hopefully, if it goes cataclysmic, will take a large portion of the enemy with it. The risk behind this is, of course, you fail to kill it, and it goes and wipes your face anyway, whilst leaving your opponent's army intact to do a lot of damage. That's a risk. Option 2 is you ignore it. You're right, okay, it can only kill 1 unit a turn, so I'll kill everything else, and then I'll see what's left to kill it. Viable tactic. So because this is a guard army, you can just bring out your pulse rifles and just mow them all down. Cut them down. Shoot the tanks with your fusion blasters, railguns, and just deal with it. Deal with the army. That's 2,500 points gone. Now you've just got 1 tank, at which point you can probably deal with it at your leisure. So then get into positions and do damage. Option 3. You balance. So for example, Tau Fire Warriors cannot hurt a Baneblade, so they shoot at the Guardsman. Logic. Your Hammerhead has not paid for submunition, and so is only firing a single shot strength 10 AV1. Logical thing, point it at the Baneblade. Your Crisis Battlesuit team with a Flamer and a Fusion Blaster, perhaps 1 turn will be burning Guardsmen, and then if they survive, will turn around and fire their Fusion Blasters at the Baneblade. Whatever. So split your fire. Some of it goes after the regular army, some of it goes after the Lord of War. This is probably my favourite tactic, because even if I have a bad day on my penetration rolls and the Lord of War doesn't go down, I'm still doing a fair bit of damage to my opponent's army. Or I get lucky, I take the Lord of War down quickly, and then the army's mine to deal with at my leisure, and it's already being weakened by everything else. So I would recommend you split your fire. So anything that doesn't have a hope of hurting the Lord of War, point it elsewhere, kill something else. Because unless it's a giant monstrous creature, at which point the problem becomes slightly more problematic, because even your strength 5, strength 4 weapons can hurt it. This point you have to really think, particularly with Nids, because if there's a carpet of Nids in front of you, and a flying monstrous creature called a Harridan overhead, what do your Fire Warriors shoot at? Do they take a shot at a grounding test, or do they mow down the gaunts? My advice, they mow down the gaunts. And then your sky-firing broadsides point up and take down the Harridan. And then anything that's not fired yet can then perhaps turn their weapons on the Harridan and kill it, if you wish. So keep your fire split. Anything that really does not really need to be firing at the Lord of War and needs to kill something else, kill something else. Anything that will be pointless not firing at the Lord of War, fire at the Lord of War. Common sense. Scenario 3. You both have a Lord of War. This is my ultimate favourite because it evokes some great cinematics. For example, Orc Stomper bearing down on the Shadow Sword as the gunner desperately tries to swing his turret round to destroy the reactor core before the Titan Chainsword comes down and smashes it. Great image in my head. And so this is one thing that I do love about Escalation, is you can have these big scale on the small scale-ish. And again, it seems like a bit of a size race these days. I'm going to stop ranting now. Okay, so you've got 2 Lords of War, 1 on each side. So, again, the same tactic applies, but this time, it's 4 things you can do. 1, you ignore the Lord of War completely. 2, you attack the Lord of War to exclusion of all else. 3, your army goes after the Lord of War, and the Lord of War goes after everything else. Option 4, the army goes after the army, the Lord of War goes after the Lord of War. I would probably recommend option 3, because in option 4, you turn it into a regular game of 40k with a side bit, a sort of extra bit shoved on the end of it, and it doesn't fit. So, for example, if the Revenant Titan and the Shadow Sword are just duking it out, or the rest of armies killing itself, it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel like it would be. Yes, a Shadow Sword would probably go after a Revenant Titan, but would a Revenant Titan go after a Shadow Sword when it's got these massive anti-infantry weapons? No, it would go after the mass ranks of guardsmen and then deal with, and then leave the fire dragons and the, what else? Other weapons to deal with the Baneblade or the Shadow Sword for it, so it can do its bit. Sorry, I'm going off on one here. So, I would say, use your Lord of War to its strengths. If it's a Stormlord, which is a guard variant on the Baneblade Shadow Sword, which packs a 30-shot Vulcan Mega Bolter, there is, well, apart from when it's a monstrous creature, there is no point pointing it at your enemy's Lord of War. Because either it won't hit the armour, or you'll be lucky to glance it to death. If it's a monstrous creature, you're going to get enough hits to do a serious amount of damage, but it's still a low strength. At which point, the best thing to do is point it at the enemy army, watch it fall. If, of course, you are packing a Lord of War that is designed to kill super heavies, or gargantuan monstrous creatures, for example, it's something with Skyfire, like a Necronobilis, which is just designed to kill flyers, then use that to do that. So, it's all about using these, really, your common sense. What fits? Is my Lord of War designed to kill the Lords of War? Yes? Okay, I'll target it a bit. No? I'll just go after my opponent's army. Is my army going to be able to kill an opponent's Lord of War? Yes? Okay, I'll divide some units to it like I would if I didn't have a Lord of War. No? I'll point it at the army. Is my opponent's Lord of War going to kill my Lord of War? Realistically, no. Is it going to kill my army? Oh, hell yes. Therefore, I need to take it down, and my Lord of War is designed to do this, so I will do this. So, it's all about coming up with the tactical variations in your head. What is each unit designed to do? Is your Lord of War designed to kill another Lord of War or an army? Is your army geared to killing Lords of War or regular armies? So, let's go over this again. Don't play at anything less than 2,000. 3,000 is right, I think. 2,000 is a touch and go. 2,500 is okay. 3,000 is best. Then think about, if I've got a Lord of War and my opponent doesn't, how am I going to approach the game? Don't be a douche about it. And get into the spirit of the game. If your Lord of War goes down to a first turn barrage, laugh it off and just have a fun game. It's all about having fun with the Lords of War and getting into it. If you don't have a Lord of War, play tactically. What can kill it, what can't. So therefore, what am I going to do about it? If you've both got a Lord of War, let loose. Do what the Lords of War are there to do. Kill stuff. Whether it be the Lord of War or the opponent's army, just kill stuff. That's what it's there to do, so do it. Anyway, that's all for today. Leave any comments, likes, favourites, whatever. Just leave them for me. I do appreciate it. I do see everything that comes up on my channel, so thank you very much for everything. Your comments, your subscriptions, everything else. It really does matter, and I really appreciate it. If you have any recommendations of what you want me to do next, either leave it in the comments or head over to my Twitter, @TacticaImperial, and tweet me. I'm happy to take advice on board. If people want to analyse a certain codex, I'll see what I can do. If people want me to talk tactically in a certain way, sure. If you want me to do more army list stuff, I'm happy to do that as well. So that's all. Thank you for watching. My name is Michael, and I will see you again.